Revenge films.
I'm Jessica. Ben and I have been married for 6 months, so we're newlywed. I don't mean to brag, but everyone says Ben is cute. They say, like, your husband is handsome, I'm jealous all the time, which doesn't make me feel bad. I keep working at the same retail I've worked at since I was single. Ben made better than average money, but I liked my work and kept working after we married. He understands me, so we both work and share the house chores. One day I got a phone call from an unknown number. I answered it, and it was an attorney. I didn't have a clue what an attorney wanted from me. "How can I help you?" And he said abruptly,
"I know you are having an affair."
I was shocked to hear this and denied it immediately. "No, I'm not. What is this all about?"
You are Jessica, aren't you? We have enough evidence and it's no use to deny it.
It must have been some kind of mistake. I was thinking about just ignoring it, but the next day my brother Joe called me too. As I answered the phone, he shouted at me in anger.
Are you having an affair? Shame on you!
I demanded an explanation, and he said an envelope with evidence inside just arrived to my parents' house where he and his wife Caitlin also lived. I told him that this was a mistake. I had no idea why this was happening to me, but he wouldn't listen to me. I didn't want my parents to misunderstand me and believe this nonsense, so I rushed to my parents' house. When I got there and explained to them, they tried to believe me, but Joe and Caitlin didn't. Joe said,
"You always were flirtatious. I'm not surprised."
Caitlin said this to my parents. "I understand you want to believe your daughter, but you should cut ties with a family member who commits adultery." They nearly shoved me out of the house, so I left there. While driving home, I couldn't help but cry out all the way home. "I'm not having an affair and never had. Why is this happening to me?" When I got home, Ben was there. He saw me looking out of the ordinary.
What's wrong? What happened to you?
I was afraid he didn't believe me either, but I told him everything that had happened. Ben didn't suspect me in the slightest and said,
I know you wouldn't do that. Don't worry about it. Let's talk to that attorney tomorrow and find out more.
Ben believed in me and was on my side 100%. I was so relieved with the fact that he not only believed what I said, but offered help and comforted me. When Ben called the attorney, he repeated that he had evidence, so Ben made an appointment to see the evidence. The day came and we were to meet this attorney at a cafe. When we got there was an attorney and a woman in her 30s waiting for me. The woman looked at me coldly at first, but then she seemed to notice something. They started to explain. She was the wife of the man who they thought I was having an affair with. They showed me some photos. In the photo, there was a man and a woman kissing in my car. It was my car, but the woman wasn't me. They noticed that too and looked embarrassed. "I saw them in this car, and I saw the car pulled into your garage." I didn't lend my car to anybody. I was suspicious and looked at the photo again closely and realized the woman was Caitlin. "She is my brother's wife." The attorney looked shocked and apologized to me. I had to see Caitlin to demand an explanation. Was she having an affair? How did she use my car? Ben and I drove to my parents' house. Joe and Caitlin were home. Before I said anything, Caitlin shouted at me. "Didn't I tell you not to come near here? We have no business with someone who commits adultery. You should leave." And so did Joe.
You are dirty. You're no longer a member of this family. Get out of here.
They yelled and cursed at me. Ben and I just couldn't have a conversation with them. We stepped out for a moment. Then now I saw the neighbors were obviously talking about me. They pointed at me and said, "Oh, that woman, unfaithful one." I gathered that Caitlin not only brainwashed Joe and my parents, but spread the word in the neighborhood so I couldn't come near my parents' house. Ben took this seriously and called the attorney. He learned the true culprit was Caitlin and he would re-prepare the certification of contents. He also said that regarding her use of my car without permission had nothing to do with the infidelity, and he couldn't do anything about it. As soon as we got home, Ben walked up to my car and took the SD card out of the dashboard camera. How brilliant! When I played the card on my laptop, it showed Caitlin and her boyfriend and their conversation clearly. "I love you. I'm leaving my husband?" Such words made me feel ill. It also recorded their physical interaction and voices, which made me sick to the stomach. I couldn't believe it, doing such an act in somebody else's car? I brought this evidence to them. When I rang the doorbell a few times, my brother yelled at me over the intercom.
I told you not to come here! Go home!
So I had to be creative. I played the video of the evidence on the front porch with maximum volume. Caitlin heard that and came out of the house. "What the heck are you doing here?" She tried to grab my laptop. Now my brother came out and demanded to see it. So I replayed the whole thing in front of them. He seemed skeptical at first, but then realized the woman on the video was surely his wife, Caitlin. He got mad and panicked. Ben told my brother the whole story and said if Caitlin didn't admit to her using my car without permission, we would report it to the police. Then Caitlin reluctantly told us she started an affair with her boss at work, but she and Bill shared one car. She didn't want to leave any evidence in their car and came up with the idea of using mine. I left my keys to my car in the house at my parents' house for an emergency. She knew it, used it to come into my house, and used my car several times while I was at work. She knew I used public transportation to commute and used my car as if it were her own. It was malicious. Ben said we would report to the police. Entering someone's house only is a legitimate crime, and I agreed with Ben. Caitlin was furious and yelled back at us. "Hey, wait a minute! What makes you think you can do that?" We just ignored her and headed to the police station. After speaking with the authorities, it became clear that she would be fined for burglary and was also responsible for the costs of cleaning my car. The next day, the certification of content arrived at my parents' house from the attorney, and the truth was out in the open. My parents and Joe apologized to me. I forgave my parents, who were concerned about me at first, but I couldn't forgive Joe, who didn't even listen to my side of the story, but did name-call me along with Caitlin. My parents decided they couldn't live with Joe and Caitlin anymore. Now it's easier for me to visit them. Caitlin was sued by the wife of her boyfriend/boss, was divorced from Joe, and got kicked out of the house penniless. She was hit with a large amount of fine for burglary and infidelity all at once. I heard she chose the adult entertainment business to pay it off. After a short while, she caused more trouble at work and disappeared. No one knows her whereabouts. Joe apologized to me a few more times, but my wound was deep. I can't bring myself to talk to him yet, but when I can, I'm going to blame him as much as I want.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.